The two angels came to Sodom that evening. When Lot was sitting at the gate of Sodom, Lot saw them, got up to greet them, and prostrated himself on the ground. He said, "Here now, my lords, please come over to your servant's house, spend the night, wash your feet, get up early, and go on your way." "No," they answered, "we'll stay here in the square." But he kept pressing them, so that they went home with him. And he made them a meal, baking matzah, unleavened bread, for their supper, which they ate. But before they could go to bed, the men of the city surrounded the house, young and old, everyone from every neighborhood of Sodom. They called Lot and said to him, "Where are the men who came to stay with you tonight? Bring them out to us. We want to have sex with them." Lot went out to them and stood at the doorway, closing the door behind him, and said, "Please, my brothers, don't do such a wicked thing. Look, here, I have 2 daughters who are virgins. Please, let me bring them out to you, and you can do with them what seems good to you. But don't do anything to these men, since they are guests in my house." "Stand back," they replied. "This guy came to live here, and now he decides to play judge? For that will deal worse with you than with them." Then they crowded in on Lot in order to get close enough to break down the door. But the men inside reached out their hands, brought Lot into the house with them, and shut the door. Then they struck the men at the door of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they couldn't find the doorway. The men said to Lot, "Do you have any people here besides yourself, whomever you have in the city? Son-in-law, your sons, your daughters, bring them out of this place, because we are going to destroy it." Adonai has become aware of the great outcry against them, and Adonai has sent us to destroy it. Lot went out and spoke to his son-in-laws, who had married his daughters, and said, "Get up and leave this place, because Adonai is going to destroy the city." But his son-in-law didn't take him seriously. When morning came, the angels told Lot to hurry. "Get up," they said, "and take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, otherwise you will be swept away in the punishment of the city." But he dallied. So the men took hold of his hand and his wife's hand and the hand of his daughters. Adonai was being merciful to him, and led them, leaving them outside the city. When they had brought them out, he said, "Flee for your life. Don't look behind you. Don't stop anywhere in the plain, but escape to the hills. Otherwise, you will be swept away." Lot said to them, "Please, no, my lord. Here, your servant has already found favor in your sight, and you have shown me even greater mercy by saving my life. But I can't escape to the hills because I'm afraid the disaster will overtake me and I will die. Look, there's a town nearby to flee to, and it's a small one. Please let me escape there. Isn't it just a small one? Or that way I will still live." He replied, "All right, I agree to what you have said. I won't overthrow the city which you have spoken. Hurry and escape to that place, because I can't do anything until you arrive there." For this reason, the city was named Zoar, small. By the time Lot had come to Zoar, the sun had risen over the land. Then Adonai caused sulfur and fire to rain down upon Sodom and Amorrah from Adonai out of the sky. He overthrew those cities, the entire plain, all the inhabitants of the cities, and everything growing in the ground. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a column of salt. Abraham got up early in the morning, went to the place where he had stood before Adonai, and looked out toward Sodom and Amorrah, scanning the entire plain. There before him the smoke was rising from the land like smoke from a furnace. But when God destroyed the cities of the plain, he remembered Abraham and sent Lot away from the destruction, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot lived. Lot went up from Zoar and lived in the hills with his 2 daughters, because he was afraid to stay in Zoar. He and his 2 daughters lived in a cave. The firstborn said to the younger, "Our father is old, and there isn't a man on earth to come in to us in a matter customary in the world. Come, let's make our father drink wine. Then we'll sleep with him. In that way, we'll enable our father to have descendants." So they plied their father with wine that night. The older went in and slept with her father. He didn't know when she lay down or when she got up. The following day, the older said to the younger, "Here, I slept last night with my father. Let's make him drink wine again tonight, and you go in and sleep with him. And that way we'll enable our father to have descendants." They plied their father with wine that night also, and the younger one got up and slept with him, and he didn't know when she lay down or when she got up. Thus both the daughters of Lot became pregnant by their father. The older one gave birth to a son called Moab. He is an ancestor of Moab to this day. The younger also gave birth to a son, and she called him Ben-Ammi. He is the ancestor of the people of Ammon to this day. Abraham traveled from there toward the Negev and lived between Kadesh and Shur, while living as an alien in Gerar. Abraham was saying to his wife Sarah, "She is my sister." So Avimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. But God came to Avimelech in a dream one night and said to him, "You are about to die because of the woman you have taken, since she is someone's wife." Now Avimelech had not come near her. So he said, "Lord, will you kill even an upright nation? Didn't he himself say to me, 'She is my sister'? And even she herself said, 'He is my brother'? In doing this, my heart has been pure and my hands innocent." God said to him in the dream, "Yes, I know that in doing this your heart has been pure, and I too have kept you from sinning against her. This is why I didn't let you touch her. Therefore return the man's wife to him now. He is a prophet, and he will pray for you, so that you will live. But if you don't return her, know that you will certainly die, you and all who belong to you." Avimelech got up early in the morning, called all his servants and told them these things, and the men became very afraid. Then Avimelech called Abraham and said to him, "What have you done to us? How have I sinned against you to cause you to bring on me and my kingdom a great sin? You have done things to me that are just not done." Avimelech went on, asking Abraham, "Whatever could have caused you to do such a thing?" Abraham replied, It was because I thought there was not possible by any fear of God in this place. So they will kill me in order to get my wife. But she actually is also my sister, the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother. So she became my wife. When God had me leave my father's house, I told her, "Do me this favor, wherever you go, say about me, 'Here is my brother.'" Avimelech took sheep, cattle, male and female slaves, and gave them to Abraham, and he returned to him Sarah, his wife. Then Avimelech said, "Look, my country lies before you. Live where you like." To Sarah he said, "Here, I have given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. That will allay the suspicions of everyone who is with you, before everyone who is cleared." Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Avimelech and his wife and slave girls so that he could have children. For Adonai had made every woman in Avimelech's house infertile on account of Sarah, Abraham's wife. Adonai remembered Sarah as he had said, and Adonai did for Sarah what he had promised. Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age, at the very time God had said to him. Abraham called his son born to him, whom Sarah bore to him, Yitzchak. Abraham circumcised his son Yitzchak when he was 8 days old, as God had ordered him to do. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Yitzchak, which means laughter, was born to him. Sarah said, "God has given me good reason to laugh. Now everyone who hears about it will laugh with me." And she said, "Who would have said to Abraham and Sarah would nurse children? Nevertheless, I have borne him a son in his old age." The child grew and was weaned, and Abraham gave a great banquet on the day that Yitzhak was weaned. But Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, whom Hagar had borne to Abraham, making fun of Yitzhak. So Sarah said to Abraham, "Throw this slave girl out, and her son. I will not have this slave girl's son as your heir along with my son Yitzhak." Abraham became very distressed over this matter of his son, but God said to Abraham, "Don't be distressed because of the boy or your slave girl. Listen to everything Sarah says to you, because it is your descendants through Yitzhak who will be counted. But I will also make a nation from the son of the slave girl, since he is descended from you." Abraham got up early in the morning, took bread and a skin of water, and gave it to Hagar, putting it on her shoulder and the child. Then he sent her away. After leaving, she wandered in the desert around Beersheba. When the water in the skin was gone, she left the child under a bush and went and sat down, looking the other way, about a bow shot's distance from him, because she said, "I can't bear to watch my child die." So she sat there, looking the other way, crying out and weeping. God heard the boy's voice, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, "What's wrong with you, Hagar? Don't be afraid, because God has heard the voice of the boy in his present situation. Get up, lift the boy up, and hold him tightly in your hands, because I am going to make him a great nation." Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. So she went, filled the skin with water, and gave the boy water to drink. God was with the boy, and he grew. He lived in the desert and became an archer. He lived in the Paran desert, and his mother chose a wife from him from the land of Egypt. At that time, Abimelech and Phicol, the commander of his army, spoke to Abraham. They said, "God is with you in everything you do. Therefore, swear to me here by God that you will never deal falsely with me or with my son or grandson, but according to the kindness with which I have treated you, you will treat me in the land in which you lived as a foreigner." Abraham said, "I swear it." Now Abraham had complained to Abimelech about a well which Abimelech's servants had seized. Abimelech answered, "I don't know who has done this. You didn't tell me, and I heard about it only today." Abraham took sheep and cattle and gave them to Abimelech, and the two of them made a covenant. Abraham put 7 female lambs from the flocks by themselves. Abimelech asked Abraham, "What is the meaning of these 7 female lambs that you have put by themselves?" He answered, "You are to accept these 7 female lambs from me as a witness that I dug this well. This is why this place was called Beersheba, well of 7, well of an oath, because they both swore an oath there." When they made the covenant at Beersheba, Abimelech departed with Phicol, the commander of his army, and returned to the land of Plishtim. Abraham planted the tamarisk tree in Beersheba, and there he called the name of Adonai, the everlasting God. Abraham lived for a long time as a foreigner in the land of Plishtim.